Welcome back to the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Camp Rock.
The ultimate Disney Channel original movie.
Truly. That I have never seen.
What?
Ever.
No.
I even thought maybe when I started watching it, I was like, maybe it'll be one of those things that like I recognize the songs or I recognize some of the scenes and maybe I have seen it in passing before. No.
Wow.
Never.
Okay, I had a different experience rewatching it. I remembered every word of every song. I don't know what came over me. I was like blasted right back to the 2000s. I loved this movie and I forgot how much I loved it growing up until I watched it again. It was such a throwback for me.
Did you love this one more than High School Musical?
Ooh, same tier.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. You know, I was going through this phase. This came out when I was 13. And that was the year that I think I decided I was too cool for Disney. Even though I still watched a lot of Disney things, especially the reruns of my favorite shows. But for whatever reason, I was like too cool for Camp Rock and I was too cool for the Jonas Brothers. I don't know why I liked the Jonas Brothers. But anyway, I guess that's why I never saw it.
I get that. I feel like there were two eras for Disney Channel for us, and I bet a lot of you guys listening can relate to this, where there was the Lizzie McGuire, where I would include the DCOMs like Stuck in the Suburbs, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, Cowbells, which we just covered, that group. And then we get the Hannah Montana, which is a Waverly Place wave, and that includes the DCOMs like Camp Rock.
Exactly.
So I can totally see if you're aging up into teenagehood like we were, it's kind of hit or miss on the second wave if you were into it or not.
But you loved the Jonas Brothers, right?
Loved. I still love. And I know there's lots of drama with Joe. I'm sure we will talk about it. I'm sure actually probably with all of them, but I loved them.
I liked them too. I just don't remember a whole lot about them at the time. In this episode, we're talking about Demi Lovato's debut, the Jonas Brothers' past relationships, and the wild character backstory that never made it to screen.
I'm so excited. The logline for Camp Rock is, a teenage girl desperately wants to spend her summer in a rock camp, but the only way she can get in is by working in the kitchen. When a teen pop star overhears her singing, he sets out to find the girl behind the voice.
I didn't even know that this was the premise, but I love it.
It's like a little rom-com.
When you rewatch this, do you feel like it holds up to you? Kind of like High School Musical? Like, does it feel the same?
I mean, it is the cheesiest of all cheese. Like, there's a lot of lines where I'm just like, ugh. And I think because we're kind of a similar age to them, it gave me the same cringe that just comes over my whole body every time I look at a photo of myself from middle school. So that was the feeling, but I did still really like it.
It's campy, but it's fun. Pun intended, campy.
Yes, exactly.
Camp Rock came out in 2008. It's the 73rd DCOM, Disney Channel original movie. Can't believe it.
That's a lot of DCOMs. Are we at 100? We must be well past 100 at this point.
We must be. Do they still make them? I don't even know. Or if it goes straight to streaming, does it count as a Disney Channel original movie? No, probably not. I bet they don't make them anymore.
Oh my goodness, I just searched 100th DCOM. There is a 100th DCOM.
What is it?
There's actually a whole web page that says Disney Channel marked its 100th Disney Channel original movie. It is a movie called Adventures in Babysitting, which is a reimagined version of the 1980s film.
I was going to say, I've seen Adventures in Babysitting, but it was not that.
It stars Sabrina Carpenter and Sophia Carson.
Oh, I have to watch it.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do an episode on it.
I'm very curious because some of you have recommended kind of the newer DCOMs that were a little bit after our time of watching Disney Channel. And I don't really know a lot of them. I'm not super familiar with them, but we would love to cover them. It's our genre for sure.
Absolutely.
So let us know which ones. After the success of High School Musical, Disney really wanted to follow that formula with another music-centered franchise. That's why Camp Rock is so similar to High School Musical. But critics thought that this one wasn't as current as High School Musical. I think they didn't like the music as much. And here's a quote from a critic that says, Camp Rock wants to be the next High School Musical, but its forgettable songs and dull premise hold it back.
Ugh.
Rude.
Rude. I love the songs in this movie.
I really like This Is Me. It's very catchy.
It is.
Despite the critics, the film was watched by 8.9 million viewers on the night of its premiere. And if you remember in our Cowbells episode that we did recently, I think we said it had 5 million viewers at the time, and that made it the third most watched DCOM at the time.
Yeah, wow. So this shows they just blew it out of the water later on.
Yes. It's currently the third highest viewed DCOM of all time, behind High School Musical 2 and Wizards of Waverly Place the movie.
Wow, that makes sense to me.
Yep. I'm actually surprised by the Wizards of Waverly Place the movie being the second, but maybe you're not because you watched that show.
I loved that show. I think Selena Gomez just has a rabid fan base. People, the Selenators, people love her. So that doesn't surprise me.
And it kind of makes sense. We never see Hannah Montana, the movie, listed in these rankings because that was not a Disney Channel original movie. I saw it in theaters, I remember.
Whoa, it jumped off.
Yeah, if it was a Disney Channel original movie, I bet that would be number one.
For sure.
Wait, did I say High School Musical 2?
You did.
And not High School Musical 1? Camp
Correct.
Rock beats High School Musical 1. Shocking, actually.
Shocking.
Wow.
That is surprising, actually. I bet they're close.
Like High School Musical is fourth,
I bet it is. Yeah, I bet it's fourth.
Oh my gosh, that blew me away. I wrote this note and it didn't even click. Camp Rock was filmed at 2 real summer camps in Ontario, Canada. And I just want to know, which Jonas brother was your favorite?
It's evolved, okay? So my favorite growing up was Nick because I thought Nick was the most age appropriate for me. And I liked him.
Okay, good.
He was the only one I considered because I was like, that is the only realistic goal here. Little did I know that Joe would then go on to marry someone my age. So.
And Nick is with someone 10 years older. So.
Right. So age is just a number, I guess. And then when I saw the Jonas Brothers in concert several years ago, probably like 5 or so years ago, I fell in love with Joe all over again. I was like, he's the best. He's my favorite for sure. And then all of the stuff came out about him and Sophie and all of their issues. And so I think it has to be Kevin.
By default.
By default, sweet, sweet Kevin. How about you?
I remember thinking Joe was the cutest as a kid. Mm-hmm. He was my favorite. But then there was an era where I was like, oh, I think I like Nick more. Mm-hmm. And Kevin was always the one people dismissed. Like, I don't know if this was true of people you knew that were your age, but like nobody liked Kevin.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't sing ever. So I think people were just, and he's older. I don't know. I don't know why that is, but.
Now, I think Kevin is my favorite. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about him personally, just to clear the air. Like, don't know. But every time I see him and see his little TikTok videos, I'm like, he's adorable.
Mm-hmm. He seems so sweet and kind. I agree. He has, I think, 2 daughters that are very cute. And I've listened to several podcast episodes with his wife. He seems very cool. So.
Okay, so it's okay that I like him?
Yes. As far as I know, safe.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of, let's dive into the cast.
Let's talk about Demi Lovato, who plays Midgie Torres. She's from Sunny with a Chance, Princess Protection Program, The X Factor. Did you watch any of those, by the way? Not The X Factor, but...
I saw a little bit of Sunny with a Chance and a little bit of... Was Princess Protection Program a movie? I think I saw that.
That was the one with Selena Gomez.
Okay, yeah. I am the oldest of 3, and I believe my youngest sister really liked Sunny with a Chance. So it was like on in the house.
That's exactly my experience with it too. My sister always watched it, so that's how I knew about that. And my sister loved Princess Protection Program, so I also watched that quite a bit. Demi uses both they, them, and she, her pronouns. Demi's parents were a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Her name was Diana de la Garza, and I thought that was really interesting.
Cool.
And Demi's dad was an engineer/musician, Patrick Martin Lovato.
Does that mean like production engineer, like sound engineer?
It said engineer and a musician, like kind of separately, so I could be, but I don't know.
Okay.
But music ran in the family, and dancing, apparently.
This makes sense.
Yeah. And this is a fun fact that I found. She has a sister named Dallas, which I assume is because of her mom's days as a cheerleader, and they lived in Dallas for some time.
Totally. Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah. 2 D names. Love that.
Mm-hmm. Demi was originally on Barney and Friends when she was little, and then on a show called As the Bell Rings. Camp Rock was her breakout role, and Sunny with a Chance came out the very next year.
That makes sense.
This Is Me from Camp Rock was her debut single, and it debuted at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100, which is crazy, actually, for your debut.
Huge. It's those 9 million people that watched the movie, I guess.
I know.
Yeah. And it's so catchy. It's like it is the song from the movie. Like it is the lead song from the movie, so it makes sense.
Which is interesting because with High School Musical, I feel like there are so many. Like, I couldn't even tell you what the song from the movie is because I have like 3 that come to mind.
Totally. Yeah, you're right.
With Camp Rock, it's this one and whatever Joe's song is that he sings. So Demi signed with Hollywood Records, which is Disney's record label, and released her first album a few months after Camp Rock came out. 10 songs on the album were co-written by the Jonas Brothers, which I didn't know.
Oh, wow. So they work together a lot. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Demi has had tons of hits like Heart Attack, Cool for the Summer, Confident, Skyscraper, many more. She also has like tons of albums, if I remember correctly, like 8 or 9. And she's had some pretty famous relationships. She dated Trace Cyrus in 2009, Joe Jonas in 2010, which I always forget about, and then was in a relationship for many years with Wilmer Valderrama, who plays Fez in that 70s show, who was 29 and she was 18 at the time.
Ugh.
Yucky.
No.
And I think a lot of people had stuff to say about that, but I want to say even Demi had stuff to say about that, but I didn't look super far into it because we have a lot of people to cover in this, but I would love to do a deep dive one day.
I was going to say Demi would be a great person to deep dive. They've had so much like public transformation over the years with their relationships, with their gender fluidity. It would be really cool to dive into her past and like her public persona.
I agree. Speaking of that, they've been really open about struggling with mental health and addiction, and has since become an advocate for mental health awareness. There's actually a 4-part documentary series about Demi's life and almost fatal overdose in 2018 that came out in 2021, which is like really soon after a tragic event like that to then do a documentary and like tell the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty brave. And that documentary series is called Dancing with the Devil. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. I'm not like tapped into the Demi Lovato side of things. Like, I didn't know a lot of this actually. Throughout the course of Camp Rock, Demi was tasked with a lot of messy stunt work, as you will find out as we recap the plot. And the director said that she was absolutely willing to do anything, and he was so impressed.
Okay, now let's talk about Joe Jonas, who plays Shane.
He's the second oldest Jonas brother. He wore a purity ring in this movie, which I feel like is mentioned a lot.
Yes, the Jonas Brothers and their purity rings.
Yep.
It's a very public thing. Would also love to do a deep dive on the Jonas Brothers because
please,
they come from a religious family. I believe their dad was a pastor and they traveled around a lot. And they also have a younger brother, Frankie. There's a 4th Jonas brother that's younger. Just a fascinating family. And like, not to even mention the boys' marriages and their families now. Fascinating.
We could spend so much time. We could spend hours.
Truly.
And I would love to. He's dated many famous people also. Besides Demi Lovato, he also dated AJ Mashaka, which we talked about a little bit in our Cowbells episode, Taylor Swift, Gigi Hadid, Ashley Greene from Twilight, many more.
I forgot about the Ashley Greene thing.
I always forget about that.
I think we talked about that in our Twilight episode.
We did. Oh, that was a long time ago. Good pull. Which reminds me that we should cover New Moon sometime too.
Oh, we should.
The list just keeps growing.
I know.
And there was one time where Megan and I were like, man, we're going to run out of nostalgic movies if we keep going at the rate that we're going. No.
Never.
Not possible. Joe married Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones in 2019, and they have 2 daughters. And in 2023, he filed for divorce, and it was all over the internet, and Megan was super tapped into that.
She went to go stay at Taylor Swift's house with her daughters for a while. It was a whole thing. Again, we could spend hours and would love to, so let us know.
Taylor Lautner almost got the part of Shane. Can you believe that?
Can he sing?
Good question. I don't know.
Interesting. No, I think Joe Jonas was perfect for this role. And I love that they incorporated all the Jonas Brothers in parts.
Yeah, it would be so interesting to see what this movie would have been without them, because I feel like its whole success was also largely in part to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when they were auditioning Taylor Lautner, they felt like something about him wasn't quite Shane Gray enough. They were like, oh, he's super charismatic and cute and he's good for this role, but we just like don't. There's something off. Had he gotten the role, though, he might not have been Jacob in Twilight, which came out the same year as Camp Rock.
And what a shame that would have been.
That would have been wild.
It's giving two celebrities that can't exist in the same universe. The fact that Camp Rock and Twilight came out the same year, wild. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
This, like, both cheesy, okay, both campy, but like this sort of cutesy rom-com juxtaposed with like dark, moody teen, angsty Twilight is kind of funny.
And our age group was feral about both.
Absolutely.
You were feral about both.
I sure was. I sure was.
Once Joe was picked for the role, they then decided to write parts for Nick and Kevin. So originally they weren't even in the movie.
Speaking of, let's talk about Nick Jonas, who plays Nate.
He's the youngest of the Jonas Brothers band, but like Megan mentioned, they actually have a younger brother named Frankie. He's a lot younger, actually. Nick had a lot of success on his solo single Jealous, which when I typed that, then Jealous was stuck in my head for a little while after. In 2017, he was in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And this is something I think a lot of people know, but he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 13. And he's done a lot of work around diabetes awareness and advocating for research. And sometimes you see him on commercials about diabetes.
Mm-hmm. I've mentioned this before, so a lot of you guys know this, but I have a sister with type 1 diabetes. And so Nick was like a celeb in our house that we talked about a lot.
I love hearing that celebrity advocacy really does make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me happy.
I mean, as kind of like silly as it sounds that this would be representation, because he's like this cutie little white boy. It totally was. Like for my sister and really just my family to like see somebody publicly talking about living with diabetes was just very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Speaking of Nick's solo career around Jealous, there was a whole documentary on the Jonas Brothers that came out that we should absolutely cover.
Okay.
Because they, as you know, got back together more recently. But they did for a while all kind of go out on their own and pursue solo careers. And that was led by Nick. And because Nick was also like on Broadway as a kid and just kind of always had this side talent and passion. And they really break down like the breakdown of their relationship as brothers, like how they didn't really talk for a while, what happened, how they got back together. They like really talk about all of it in the documentary. It's really interesting.
So when the band broke up, they kind of broke up as brothers too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I knew the band broke up, but wow. Nick has also dated some famous ladies. He dated Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez, notably. And he's been married to Priyanka Chopra since 2018, and they have a daughter together. And she's 10 years older than him. So Megan, didn't matter.
I was wrong.
Just a number.
Next, we have Kevin Jonas, who plays Jason.
He's the oldest Jonas brother, and I was trying to figure out his age because, like, in this movie, I honestly thought he was too old to be in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed that way. But he's only 5 years older than Nick. So that's not...
Really?
Yeah, that's not that much of an age difference.
Oh, that's the same age split as my sisters and I. I would not have expected that. I thought that he was much older for some reason.
I think when we were little, too, 5 years was such a big difference.
Yeah.
And so I remember just thinking he was so old.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious now.
Yeah.
He's been married to his wife, Danielle, since 2009, and they have 2 kids. And they had a reality show called Married to Jonas, which I always forget about. TikTok is actually going crazy right now over the fact that Kevin's first name is Paul, not Kevin.
I did not know this, or maybe I totally forgot it, but that is so funny. Paul Jonas.
Yep, Paul Kevin.
Oh my God, that just made me think of the, hi, I'm Paul.
What was that from? Was that from certain
I was going to say a
shows?
commercial, but I don't know.
Wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Wasn't it Nickelodeon shows? Like that little three-eyed monkey at the end?
Oh my God, maybe.
Let's look it up.
Hi, I'm Paul from... Oh, yeah, literally, I type in from. It's from Nickelodeon. It's from the Jimmy Neutron commercials on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I watched a lot of Jimmy Neutron. That makes sense. That tracks.
There are so many, like, people also ask, where did the phrase, hi, I'm Paul come from? What show ended with, hi, I'm Paul? What does the monkey at the end of Jimmy Neutron say? Where did Paul originally come from?
Where did he come from? What's his backstory? Tell me why he has 3 eyes.
The answer is about Paul the Apostle. That was not the intended search.
Google, you did bad there. You
did bad.
That's funny. But I do love how Kevin is playing into this on social media. I highly recommend people go look if they're curious because he's being really funny about it. And then some super fans are like, Kevin, we've known this for 20 years.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about Allison Stoner, who plays Caitlin.
I love Allison Stoner. I don't know if I've talked about this before. We've never talked about them.
No, we haven't, but you have talked to me about how much you like them.
Yes. So Allison Stoner is from Cheaper by the Dozen, Step Up, Mike's Super Short Show, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, Phineas and Ferb. Basically everything.
Yes. All over the scene at the time.
Our childhood, really. They were really well known for dancing in a Missy Elliott video at age 9. And a lot of people know Allison Stoner as the dancing child in the Missy Elliott music video.
I actually didn't know that that's where they got their start.
I don't know if that was like the true start, but that's what a lot of people know them from.
Cool.
Allison still dances and also teaches dance, which I think is great. And they're really good at it, so it makes sense. Allison is also really vocal about what it's like to be a child in the entertainment industry and uses their platform to advocate for children in the industry and also highlight other child stars' stories, which I think is pretty cool.
Very needed.
And important.
I'm actually kind of surprised that of all of the child stars that we've talked about, I think this is the first one that at least very publicly like advocates for child stars. We don't see a lot of we see a lot of child stars that like back away from the spotlight, and we see a lot that embrace the spotlight. We don't necessarily see a lot that embrace the spotlight and also use that platform to speak out as an advocate for other child stars. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and there are a few that come to mind, but we really haven't talked about them yet. Raven Simone is another one I'm thinking of, though.
True.
Who we did talk about in Cheetah Girls. Or I think I did. I think that was a solo episode.
It was.
Wow. Long time ago now. Allison has a memoir coming out in August that I am so excited about. And it's called Semi-Well Adjusted Despite Literally Everything.
Incredible title.
And I will say that one of my favorite books is Jeanette McCurdy's memoir. And I have a feeling that this memoir will be kind of similar. And so I have high expectations for it.
I am not a big reader, so I can't wait to hear you tell me about it.
I do always get the audiobooks of celebrity memoirs.
Okay. Did they read them a lot of times?
Yes. And on Spotify, you get like 8 hours of audiobook a month, and I don't hit that ever. So
cool. I actually probably will listen to it then. I love audiobooks. Okay, it's time. Should we get into the movie recap?
Let's do it.
So the movie starts and we hear Mitchie up, last day of school. And Mitchie, that's Demi Lovato, jumps out of bed and gets ready for school. And she plays piano and she sings Who Will I Be?
At breakfast, she and her mom, who's played by Maria Canals Barrera from Wizards of Waverly Place, watch the news together, which is covering a story about a pop star named Shane Gray, played by Joe Jonas, who storms off the set of a music video. The journalist says that the other members of the band, called Connect 3, are fed up, and it may cost them their record deal. Their summer tour is canceled. Mitchie's mom says, "What is wrong with that boy? He's got everything." Mitchie says, "Except a clue."
Mitchie has been leaving brochures for a music camp called Camp Rock all over the house for her mom to find. And her mom says she's sorry, but they can't afford for her to go to the camp. And Mitchie is bummed, but she heads off to school.
Did you ever do that with anything that you were like trying to campaign to your parents to get you?
No, I don't think so. They listen to this, so you guys will have to let us know. Except for a dog.
You campaigned for a dog.
I adamant about the dog. Yes, I did all the research.
Yep. Okay, that is exactly what happened to me, but I wanted a cat. This was in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what this scene reminded me of, because I used my money to buy a cat magazine. It was like all about taking care of cats, and it was for like very intense cat owners.
Mm-hmm.
I had this magazine. I would leave it in my mom's car, and we had a long commute every day to school. So for like 30 minutes in the car, I would read it in the morning, and then I would read it after school, and then I would tell my mom these little cat facts about raising them that I learned.
Mm-hmm. To show her that you were ready.
It worked. I wore her down. It worked. There was an opportunity to rescue a kitten that was in a sewer, and we got it.
Oh, what was its name?
Her name was Luna, and
Cute.
she was wonderful, but unfortunately, I don't know, we didn't really know her backstory, but she had heart problems, and she just randomly passed away one day.
Oh,
No warning, and she was only like 3.
oh, that's so sad.
It was so sad, but I loved her. She was the best. Anyway.
On that note.
On a lighter note. The positive thing here is that you can wear your parents down. It does work.
Yes, that is the lesson.
And it might work for Mitchie. We'll find out. After she gets home from school and work, her parents tell her that she's going to Camp Rock because her mom took a job there as the chef for the summer. See, it did work. But Mitchie has to help out in the kitchen. And that's like the trade-off, and she's totally fine with that. She squeals and thanks her parents and hugs them.
And then we see Mitchie and her mom arrive at Camp Rock. And Mitchie goes out to meet the other campers right away, and she accidentally bumps into Tess, played by Megan Martin from Mean Girls 2. And she is the mean girl at camp who arrived in a limo and has a famous mom. And then she also meets Caitlin, played by Allison Stoner, who is a camper who's an aspiring music producer.
The musical director tells everyone that there will be a special celebrity instructor this year at Camp Rock. We cut to Shane Gray, played by Joe Jonas, saying he doesn't want to waste his summer at some camp. His bandmates and brothers, Nate and Jason, played by Nick and Kevin, drop him off at Camp Rock, hoping that it'll help his public image to return to a camp that he loved years ago. His Uncle Brown is the camp director. The other bandmates told the press that Shane will be recording a duet with the winner of Final Jam, which is a competition that campers have at the end of camp. So, because the press knows about this, Shane really can't get out of this experience.
We see Mitchie help in the kitchen, and she tells her mom that she's too nervous to do an open mic night tonight and sing in front of all of these people. As she's taking out the trash, she hears girls singing in a cabin nearby, and she sneaks up to listen to them. And it's Tess, the mean girl, and her friends, and we hear immediately that Tess is being bossy.
Shane calls his bandmates and says, "Come on, guys, I learned my lesson. I showered in cold water. I have looked at a tree. It's been 3 hours. I need hair product." That's my favorite quote of the whole movie. They say, "I guess it's time to embrace the natural look," and they hang up on him.
Guys, this was the era of Joe Jonas with like the longest swoopy hair.
And can we talk about Kevin's in this, where it's like straightened and long?
Uh-huh.
And both boys, every time I see them, are like flipping their hair out of their eyes, like doing that little head bobble to get it out of their eyes.
That was the cool hair. That was the Justin Bieber hair of the time. Which makes the fact that Twilight came out at the same time even weirder, because Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner versus like the Jonas Brothers, the look is very different.
Very different.
So interesting.
Uh-huh.
So back to the movie, we see a bunch of girls spot Shane and they chase him down. And he hides behind a tree, and while he's hiding, he hears singing. It's Mitchie singing This Is Me, her song, and playing piano. And Shane is mesmerized. But when he finally loses the fangirls and tries to find out who is singing, Mitchie has already left.
At the open mic night, Mitchie is really awkward around Tess and her friends, and they want nothing to do with her when she says that her dad owns a hardware store. But then, as the mean girls are walking away, she makes up that her mom is president of Hot Tunes TV in China, and the girls are suddenly interested in her, and they invite her to stay in their cabin. All of this happens in front of Caitlin, Allison Stoner, who is ignored by everyone.
So Mitchie moves into the mean girls' cabin, and Tess calls her mom to try to tell her about camp, but her mom is too busy to talk to her, and Tess is disappointed. We can tell this is frequent. This is just kind of how their relationship is, which is very sad. And then Tess makes her friend Peggy, played by Jasmine Richards from Naturally Sadie, give up her bed for Mitchie. And the girls find Mitchie's songbook with all of the songs she writes in it and ask her to sing for them. And she does. She nervously sings This Is Me while Tess flips through her songbook.
Early in the morning, Mitchie runs to the kitchen to work and then files into breakfast without anyone seeing that she had been in the kitchen. She sits next to Caitlin at breakfast, but then Tess calls her over to sit at her table. Before she leaves, Caitlin asks if Mitchie is any good at singing, and then gives her advice that she shouldn't be friends with Tess.
We can tell that Mitchie is new to this dynamic, but a lot of the other people at this camp go every year, so they know each other already. So I think that's why Caitlin is very aware of Tess and her dynamic. Mitchie is confused by what Caitlin is trying to tell her, but she still sits with Tess, who asks her where she was this morning. And Mitchie stuffs her face with toast to avoid more questions because she doesn't want them to find out that her mom works in the kitchen.
In Mitchie's first class, she's the only one who doesn't volunteer to sing. So the director, / Shane's Uncle Brown, has her sing first. She's nervous, but is encouraged to sing louder, and she sings Who Will I Be? She impresses everyone except Tess, who's jealous of the attention that she gets.
Tess asks Mitchie to sing background vocals for her and with her friends, Tess is the lead, and then Mitchie and her friends would be the backup singers, for the final jam, which is the big performance at the end of camp. Mitchie says she was thinking about singing solo, but Tess tries to make her nervous about singing in front of an audience for the first time alone, and Mitchie agrees to join their group. And then she excuses herself to call her mom, but really she's going to go help out in the kitchen.
Do you know what I just realized this movie reminds me of? Raise Your Voice with Hilary Duff.
Oh.
Because it's all the music kids in school together, and they're taking classes together, and then they're performing.
I could see that. To me, this dynamic is so High School Musical because she gives Sharpay so much.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wait, who is worse, Tess or Sharpay?
Still Sharpay, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Tess is worse because I have a soft spot for Sharpay. But Tess, there's nothing redeemable about her in this movie.
They both have the same trope of being the rich kid with the parents that ignore them, and so they take it out on their peers.
Mm-hmm. Mitchie is alone in the kitchen, and Shane walks in. Before he can see her, she puts on a chef's hat and coats her face in flour so no one will know that she works in the kitchen. Shane complains about the kitchen not paying attention to his food allergy list, and he wants to talk to who's in charge. Mitchie calls him out for acting like a jerk, and he seems very surprised that she is standing up to him. And also, I just have to say, times have changed. You're not a jerk for being upset that somebody didn't look at your food allergies.
True.
If you're allergic.
Yeah.
Back then, it was oh, you're allergic?
High maintenance.
Suck it up.
Yeah. Then Uncle Brown makes Shane instruct the hip-hop dance. And in class, a boy falls, and Tess says he's marching to the beat of a different drum. And Shane asks the boy if he plays drums, and then encourages him and says the drummer controls the beat.
At breakfast, Mitchie's mom tries to talk to her and Tess, who is super rude to her mom. And Mitchie pretends that she doesn't know her mom, because remember, she's trying to say that her mom is famous. Later in the kitchen, Mitchie's mom says that Tess doesn't seem like her usual type of friend.
That night, there's a campfire jam, and Mitchie is a backup singer for Tess, who performs her song Too Cool. I will say, Too Cool by Tess has nothing on Sharpay and Ryan's songs.
I agree. It's not memorable. I don't remember Too Cool at all.
No. We can tell that Mitchie's heart isn't in the performance. And afterwards, Caitlin asks her knowingly if she enjoyed singing backup, and Mitchie blows her off.
Mitchie accidentally walks up on Shane playing guitar by the lake, and he snaps at her. She says his playing sounds different, and he says, "Than my usual stupid cookie-cutter pop star stuff. Sorry to disappoint." She says that he didn't and that she likes it and thinks it would sell. She says he'll never know if he doesn't try, and he smiles. And this is giving Stuck in the Suburbs.
Totally.
They love their tropes.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like they took a bunch of other successful DCOMs and turned them into this.
Definitely.
And it worked.
Well, it sure did. If this beat High School Musical, I'm still upset about that fact, actually.
During lunch, Caitlin accidentally trips Tess, and it escalates to a food fight. Tess tells Brown, who's, again, that's the camp director, but also Shane's uncle, that Caitlin is the one that started it, and Mitchie doesn't stand up for Caitlin in this moment. And then Brown punishes Caitlin by making her work in the kitchen. And Mitchie gets worried that Caitlin will learn her secret.
Then Shane shares a song that he wrote called Gotta Find You with Mitchie. He tells her about the girl that he heard singing and how that girl inspired the song. Mitchie tells him it's really good and that she doesn't lie.
Caitlin arrives in the kitchen to work and finds out Mitchie's secret pretty much immediately. And she and Caitlin actually get in a fight over Mitchie lying, and Caitlin threatens to tell everyone.
I like how literally in the previous scene, she's like, I don't lie, and then gets caught right after.
Uh-huh.
That night is a pajama party music event called Pajama Jam. Caitlin DJs, and this has become a meme. Have you seen the meme?
Mm-mm. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Where Caitlin is like DJing for 2 seconds, and then Mitchie goes, she's really good to everybody.
That actually, I recognized this, like that frame from social media. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Allison actually joked about this on Instagram recently.
That's so funny.
I also love when a celebrity is in on the joke about their project that they've been in.
Definitely.
It makes them feel so human, you know? Tess tries to distract everyone from her performance and pretends there's a snake in the room, which forces Caitlin to stop playing. Caitlin confronts Tess, and Tess does the whatever major loser sign at Caitlin. Mitchie stands up for Caitlin and says that everyone knows whatever major loser is so last year, and then says, oh, well, I guess not everyone. Burn.
Burn. I thought this was going to blow up into a big thing between Mitchie and Tess, but it doesn't. It just doesn't.
No. I think because nobody stands up to Tess ever.
Yeah.
And so the second someone does, she's like, she backs down.
Yeah.
So everyone laughs, Tess storms off, and now Caitlin is friends with Mitchie again. Caitlin tells Mitchie that she was once friends with Tess, but when Tess saw her as competition, they stopped being friends.
Then Shane recruits the kid who drums to help him find the girl with the voice, and it spreads around camp. Girls start singing in front of Shane every chance they get, and he tries to get away from them. And then Caitlin asks Mitchie, aren't you going to get in line? And Mitchie says, trust me, it's not me. Plus, he's never heard me sing.
While Shane is off searching for the voice, maybe you can help us find ours by leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts.
Round of applause. Loved it. Perfect. Clever.
I put it in the outline as a thing in all caps. So Megan knew it was coming.
I knew there was a surprise coming.
Later, Shane and Mitchie canoe together. She asks him if he's found his girl yet, and he says that he hasn't. He says he never knows if people are hanging out with him or for the free stuff. Shane says people are probably always fake around Mitchie too because of her mom's job at Hot Tunes. Mitchie doesn't deny it, and he says it's nice talking to someone who gets it. Tess sees all of this and is jealous, of course.
Later, Tess walks by the kitchen and sees Mitchie and her mom together and figures out her secret. Then at Beach Jam, Shane surprises everyone by bringing his bandmates out and doing a performance for all the campers. They sing Play My Music, and they hope the success of this new song they're performing will make the record company agree to let them record new songs.
After the performance, Shane starts walking up to Mitchie, and Tess jumps in and asks Mitchie to tell them about her mom again. Mitchie can't lie in front of everyone and comes clean that her mom is not the president of Hot Tunes TV China and that she's actually the cook at camp.
Shane believes Mitchie lied to him all summer to be with him because he's famous, and he says he really thought she was different. He leaves, and Caitlin hurries Mitchie away so she doesn't cry in front of everyone.
The next day, Uncle Brown asks Shane what happened and says he looked absolutely destroyed last night. Shane says he's just going to focus on his music. Brown asks if he's still looking for that girl with the voice. Shane says he still has her song stuck in his head, and he starts singing This Is Me. Tess, who just eavesdrops on everyone at this point, overhears this and now knows the girl with the voice is Mitchie.
Meanwhile, in hip-hop class, all the other campers are talking about Mitchie. Shane offers them some advice for Final Jam, but he's looking straight at Mitchie when he says it. He says, it's not all about your image. None of it means anything unless people see who you really are. And your music has to be who you really are. It's got to show how you feel, or it doesn't mean anything.
Mitchie talks to her mom, who says she's so much more than what she sees, and she doesn't have to lie about who she is.
At lunch, Tess tells Mitchie to tell her mom that the chicken was dry, and Mitchie gets mad, stands up, and tells Tess to stop talking to her, and everyone else like that. Mitchie says, I may be the cook's daughter, and my father may not be rich, but I'm a much better person than someone who feels good about herself because she makes everyone else feel bad, and I'll take that any day. Tess says if it wasn't obvious, Mitchie's out of the group, and Caitlin says, then we'll make our own group. I love Caitlin.
I do too. The day before Final Jam, Tess frames Mitchie and Caitlin for stealing her bracelet, and Brown bans them from all camp activities until the end of Final Jam.
Then it's Final Jam day, and the judges are Connect 3, that's Shane's band, all the Jonas Brothers, and Tess gets in a fight with her friends who are tired of being her backup, and they quit.
The director, Matthew Diamond, was trying to brainstorm a complete background story for how the camp director, Brown, would have been able to get all of the expensive technical equipment for a little summer camp, which I think is so funny because I think like we do this when we write scripts too, but we're like, this doesn't make sense. So we have to figure out a backstory that will make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in this story, it's just kind of funny because it's like for Disney, I don't think anyone cares.
No.
But he decided that Brown was a touring rocker. And at the end of his career, they didn't pay him for his final tour. So he said, you know what? See all of that lighting equipment over there? I'll take that. Ship it over to my summer camp. And it seemed like a good idea, he said.
I like this backstory. That's cute.
Yeah, me too. But when the movie came out, no one ever asked, where does a summer camp get all of that amazing lighting equipment straight out of a Led Zeppelin show? But he said he had fun coming up with a justification anyway, just in case somebody asked.
I feel like we are the reality police a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I did not even notice this.
I was like, it's Camp Rock. Of course they're going to have great equipment. A lot of famous people have their kids go here.
As they should. And also, we are to believe that it's very expensive for the kids to go. So I would assume that pays for it.
That's what I thought. Honestly, that would have just been the easiest thing he could have done.
Yeah.
But instead he was like, I need a whole backstory. Back to the movie. Tess is shocked to see that her famous mom is in the crowd when she performs the song 2 Stars. Her mom takes a phone call during her performance, and it makes Tess mess up, and she stumbles, and then she runs backstage in tears.
Then Peggy, whose real name is Margaret, and she is one of the girls who is friends with Tess, she was one of her backup singers, performs a last-minute solo song called Here I Am, and a montage of her bad friendship with Tess plays. The whole song is like about her coming into her own and not being the backup person anymore. So it's like very fitting that they put it to a montage of their friendship. And we see that Margaret is very talented, but she was forced to be in Tess's shadow the whole time until she had enough. And backstage, Tess tells Peggy, aka Margaret, that she was really good and that she's very sorry.
Do you want to know what I thought was going to happen? That I felt like they were setting up? After Tess finds out that Mitchie is the girl with the voice, she runs and like steals Mitchie's songbook and starts teaching herself the song This Is Me. So I thought that at Final Jam, she was going to sing This Is Me. Perfect opportunity, perfect evil plot for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought that Shane was going to think that she was the girl with the voice, and then we were going to be in a whole mess. But no, didn't happen.
I'm like ferociously nodding because I thought the same thing too. I like forgot how this ended. And the whole time I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought we were going to get this Little Mermaid moment. But no, it's not. And then when they were talking about Margaret, when they were like announcing Margaret as a last minute addition to Final Jam, I was like, is that Mitchie's real name? And Mitchie is like going to show up to perform? Nope. Both wrong.
I would have liked both of those options though.
Mm-hmm. But I like that they had a Peggy Margaret moment.
Yeah, me too. So Brown announces that it's the end of Final Jam and time for the judges to deliberate. Mitchie and Caitlin catch on that Brown really meant that their ban was only until the end of Final Jam. He was very literal with his directions. And he lets Mitchie go on stage. Mitchie sings This Is Me. Her parents are in the audience and they're both really proud. And then Shane realizes that Mitchie is the mysterious singer, and he jumps on stage with her and duets with her, singing a mashup of her song and his song about her, which I thought was genius, actually. Loved it.
Same.
I bet that would have been mind-blowing as a kid, actually, to like hear that mashup. They lock hands afterwards and they smile at each other. No kiss, though. Shocking.
I know. And then Brown announces that the final jam winner is Margaret, aka Peggy. Do we ever get an explanation for why she has gone by Peggy all this time but is now going by Margaret?
No, but they make it seem like it's a really big deal, like she's claiming her name and like Tess was the one who called her Peggy. But they never explain why.
Interesting.
And it's very confusing.
Yeah. As her prize, she gets to record with Shane Gray.
Which would be wild, to go to a summer camp and then get to record with a famous pop star.
Crazy.
Can you imagine?
No.
Tess tells Caitlin and Mitchie that she told Brown they didn't take her bracelet. She says, "See you next summer," and is kind of like nice now, I guess. Mitchie tells her mom that it was the best summer of her life thanks to her, which is sweet.
Then Shane meets up with Mitchie backstage and they reintroduce themselves, and he invites her on a canoe ride later. Then there's a final jam session where everyone gets on stage together and they sing "We Rock." And that's the end.
Woo, yay. There's also an extended ending that takes place 3 months later, where Caitlin invites all of the girls, including Tess, who's nicer now, to the recording studio that she built in her garage, and they record the song "Our Time Is Here."
Cool.
Did you remember that?
Mm-mm.
I wonder when they played it, or if it was just on like the DVD or something.
I don't know.
There's also a Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam, which came out in 2010. Have you seen that one?
I'm sure I have, but I don't remember it.
Well, you guys will have to let us know if it's worth watching.
Definitely. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at What We're Watching Pod. We love getting recommendations for what movies we should cover over there. We've been doing a lot of requests lately, and it's been really fun.
And I don't know about you, but this movie made me really in the mood for summer.
Definitely.
And I've already felt like it's summer for like a month now, even though the weather has not followed that logic. So, if you have any summer movies that you think we should cover, send them our way.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.